Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. Construction for the Trinidad and Tobago Aviation Institute launched. Equality for women urged in legislation making to ensure economies do not suffer in the future. And the 2014 turtle watching season has officially been launched with strict measures in place against poachers. Thank you for joining us. The Ministry of Tertiary Education and Skills Training hosted a threefold ceremony on Monday to highlight the graduation of students of the UTT Avionics and Applied Engineering program and an MOU signing and ceremony for the start of construction for the TNT Aviation Institute, all of which is set to prepare the graduate's career for a takeoff.
Most of us can remember the time we flew in an airplane. It is an experience we've met with fascination at the fact that these massive structures are able to propel through the air and take us safely from one destination to another. Aircrafts are a true testament of human power and imagination. The vision of the government is to make Trinidad and Tobago the regional hub of all aviation activity, and in light of the expansion of Caribbean Airlines, it has now become necessary to focus on the training of technical personnel in the areas of aircraft maintenance and engineering.
To all the stakeholders of the aviation sector who are present here this morning, this is a very signal or red letter day from the point of view of where the global aviation industry stands and in terms of the rich opportunities which are existing and which will continue to exist. And also, we must see it in the context of what I would term continued development and progress on behalf of the People's Partnership Government.
A historic memorandum of understanding was signed among agencies under the purview of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education, now the Ministry of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, and the Ministry of Transport on Friday 18th May 2012. Minister Fazal Karim, speaking at the graduation ceremony, says the MOU signing, which was held symbolically, represented a unique collaboration among UTT, Caribbean Airlines, Metal Industries Limited, and the National Helicopter Service Limited for the development of education training into the aviation sector within the country.
I remember very vividly one of the announcers on TTT, Trinidad and Tobago Television, who was subsequently a pilot and a captain, Bobby Thomas, flew on this airstrip. And very many others, like from the Das family, and other pilots from around the world would have landed here. In fact, when Minister Hadid saw the aircraft there, he asked me, that landed here? I said, that landed here. And the vision is that this will become an active runway and the center for aviation, nothing like you would ever see in this part of the world. Just imagine what will happen today, 10 years from now, what we are doing here today. We can see it. We can feel it.
The minister congratulated the graduates, saying that they are history in the making.
Your name will be etched on this runway and also where you would have studied at Camden Airstrip. This will be the field that you remember that you did your studies under the very able hand of Mr. Shem Pollard.
The minister said aviation is a multi-billion-dollar industry that encompasses a multitude of aviation positions, jobs and career, and contributes to growth in many other areas.
The fees that you will pay here will be 1/10 maybe of what you will pay abroad. But very importantly, the University of Trinidad and Tobago, which is accredited by the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago, and we have Mr. Michael Bradshaw, the Executive Director, representing the Chairman of the Board, Dr. Michael Dowlett, and we have members of the Board who are here with us. You recognize as well that that being an accredited institution will be seeking gate approval for some of these programs in the future.
Minister Fazal Karim adds that the TTAI, which is present a consortium of training and aviation-based organizations, will eventually be formed into a formal aviation body, responsible for the governance and administration of both in-class training in academic and technical areas of aviation, as well as specialized instruction and facilities for Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard and other type of similar training. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
In other news, for a second time in 2 years, the United States Embassy in Port of Spain has partnered with the network of NGOs to facilitate a United States speaker at its International Women's Day event themed Women in Enterprise, Equality Means Business. This year's featured speaker was Dr. Avis Jones de Weaver, who is also a writer and change agent. She was brought under the U.S. Embassy's speaker program.
Writer, speaker and change agent Dr. Avis Jones de Weaver delivered the keynote address at the Network of NGOs conference for the advancement of women. The conference was held in observance of International Women's Day, IWD 2014. Dr. Jones de Weaver is the founding president and chief executive officer of Insight Unlimited LLC, a consulting firm devoted to the principle of moving great ideas to effective action. With over 20 years' experience in research, advocacy, and evaluation, Dr. Jones de Weaver's focus is on the advancement of women. During her feature presentation, she stressed the importance of women being involved in every aspect of society. She said without their involvement, economies were bound to suffer.
Investing and expanding entrepreneurial opportunities for women matters because thriving economies matter. And to maximize the potential of any economy within a competitive global marketplace, no nation can afford to leave the potential contributions of women entrepreneurs behind.
Dr. Jones de Weaver adds that it is very important for states to play a crucial role in ensuring gender equality. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, she believes if this role is taken up, the prospects will be very high.
In my mind, government-supported gender-specific programming can ultimately be the difference maker in Trinidad and Tobago to help this nation really become the shining standout that it deserves to be in terms of its ability to maximize the power and the potential of women entrepreneurs. The research on this is clear. Those countries that invest in women through state-sponsored, gender-focused programming grow not only the number of women business owners, but they grow their own economies. The potential here is just too rich to just leave on the table undeveloped.
Meantime, also addressing the conference was Dr. Giovanni Di Cola, Director of the International Labour Organization, the ILO, Office and Decent Work Team, DWT, for the Caribbean. He agreed that despite much being done to empower women, without proper legislation to this effect, it will all be for nothing.
Yes, we've made progress with respect to legislation related to equality of opportunities throughout the world. And I think this is also the case for Trinidad and Tobago. However, the point of having legislation which is in line with international standards is not bringing us to the point where we would like to be with respect to true equality of opportunities for women and men. Still, the salaries of women are not as they should be with respect to those men at equal level of competencies and studies and experience. And second, because some of the services, most of them delivered either by public or private institutions, are not actually matching the needs of the women.
Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
News 4 continues right after the break. Stay with us. The 2014 turtle season has been officially opened, with government highlighting measures for the protection of these endangered leatherback turtles. This species, which spends most of its time at sea, has chosen Trinidad and Tobago as one of its return destinations to lay its eggs. As such, government has signaled that there will be strict protection or protective measures from poachers.
Trinidad and Tobago is set to welcome the leatherback turtles. The female turtles come to these shores to lay their eggs during nesting season, which runs from March to September. They lay clutches of approximately 100 eggs, nesting several times, typically at 8 to 12 days intervals. Speaking at the opening of the 2014 turtle season in Valencia, the Honorable Ganga Singh, the Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, expressed the need to continuously protect the endangered sea turtles and recognize the work of the divisions and agencies of the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources in fulfilling their major task. The minister explained that the government, through the Green Fund, has provided significant contributions totaling $29 million to the Turtle Village Trust over a 3-year period. He added that in 2013, the Institution of Marine Affairs conducted experiment into the feasibility of a hatchery program for leatherback sea turtles. During his address, Minister Singh also noted that in September 2012, the Protection of Turtle and Turtle Eggs regulations under the Fisheries Act was amended to prohibit the taking, removing, or selling of any turtle and turtle eggs. This change in the legislation, he said, signaled an end to the legal fisheries of sea turtles and gives complete protection to sea turtles in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Minister Singh also revealed plans to set up an Institute of Environmental Health Care. This will be done through the Environmental Management Agency under the leadership of Dr. Alan Bachan together with the University of Putrajaya in Malaysia. Currently, Trinidad supports more than 80% of all leatherback sea turtles nesting within the Caribbean Sea region. An estimate of 6,000 nest annually along Trinidad's north and east coast. Felicia Wilson, Mon News 4.
Sport is up right after the break.
Welcome to Food in Focus. Predial larceny represents a major challenge to everyone in the agricultural sector. It is estimated that in 2010, the agricultural sector in Trinidad and Tobago lost US $11.3 million over a 6-month period alone due to predial larceny. In the fight against predial larceny, the Ministry of Food Production has established 4 stations to be managed by the Predial Larceny Squad. The squad consists of 76 members of the Special Reserve Police. These stations will be open 24 hours and will initially be located at Farm Road, St. Joseph, Vimcott Compound, Port of Spain, Carlson Field, Chaguanas and Farm Road, Breeding Unit Trace, Craignish Village, Princestown. Eventually, they will be rolled out nationwide. In addition to this, the Agricultural Development Bank is also offering loans for CCTV cameras for farm security at reduced interest rates. The Ministry of Food Production is committed to defeating predial larceny and making Trinidad and Tobago a food-secure nation.
If you suspect your community is under attack by criminals, call 999 or 911. If you witness a crime being committed, call 999 or 911. If you see any suspicious activity, call 999 or 911.
The football community is yet to come to terms with the loss of Trinidad and Tobago midfielder Kevin Carter, who passed away due to a heart attack on Carnival Friday. At the funeral for the Defence Force Lance Corporal, Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Senator Mbao Mohini, reflected on what the loss meant to the national community.
Members from all branches of national security came out last Friday to celebrate the life of Defence Force Lance Corporal Kevin Carter. Jamaican goalkeeper Kevin Graham campaigns in the Trinidad and Tobago Pro League for Caledonia AIA, and the sentiments he expressed continues to reverberate.
He was always an honest, disciplined, and respectable person. And being a Jamaican, he always let me feel welcome, you know? And I just want to say my condolence to the Army Regiment and his family and the other members of the Pro League.
Senator Mbao Mohini, Minister in the Ministry of National Security, reflected on the impact made by Carter on the national community.
In his short stay with us, Kevin was the kind of individual who had the ability and who definitely lifted the spirit of our national community. He was an example to our youth in his search for achievement and in his search for excellence. Today, as we reflect on his life, let our spirits be lifted once more as we seek to comfort each other and as we continue to remember the example that he set in his discipline, his commitment, his dedication, and what he has done in representing not only the Defense Force, but our Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
As he delivered his words of comfort, Reverend Dr. Victor George reminded all about the frailty of man.
We can no more resist the calamities of human life. We cannot even guard ourselves from these calamities, like the grass cannot guard itself from the blast of the wind and the heat. So is the man. We really look strong and healthy. We look as if we can take on the world. But one phone call from our doctor can change the whole state of mind.
Lance Corporal Kevon Simba Carter, rest in peace. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
Thank you very much, Wayne. News 4 continues right after the break. Minister of National Security, the Honorable Gary Griffith, met with defense and national security colleagues of Venezuela and Colombia recently in an attempt to implement relationships and measures to develop mutual sharing of information. We have more in this special report.
As part of the ongoing development of all-encompassing anti-crime strategies, National Security Minister Gary Griffith has taken crucial steps in re-energizing this country's relationship with Colombia and Venezuela in an overt response and to deliver a powerful united blow against drug and human traffickers. On October 30th, 2013, Minister Griffith hosted a bilateral security meeting in Port of Spain. Attending this high-level meeting were Her Excellency Carmen Teresa Melendez, Minister of Defense, and His Excellency Miguel Rodriguez Torres, Minister for Interior Relations, Justice and Peace of the Bolivian Republic of Venezuela, Senator the Honorable Gary Griffith, Minister of National Security, and Senator the Honorable Emmanuel George, Minister of Justice of Trinidad and Tobago. This initiative forms an integral part of a larger effort to achieve a strong united fight against drug and human trafficking within the region. Established since 1963, democratic relationship between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela continues to play a leading role in Caribbean South American leadership. Formalized 5 years later, this country also enjoys strong diplomatic relations with Colombia to the south.
Trinidad and Tobago and Colombia, we established diplomatic relations as far back as 1968. But it took over 40 years before the government of Trinidad and Tobago re-established a formal relationship with the government of Colombia in the area of security cooperation, which was in March 2006. However, since then we've been pretty dormant, and it is our intention to drive it forward, and for us not just to have to talk shop, because we've had several meetings in the last year or two, and what we need to do is to start to implement. And this will be of mutual benefit to both countries.
As these relationships developed, they have provided an avenue for mutual sharing of information and important training in the area of national security, an opportunity not lost on the current Minister of National Security, who understands the value of teamwork in the fight against organized crime. In 2005, a bilateral security agreement was made between TNT and Venezuela, as well as a police cooperation agreement between Colombia and Trinidad, with both agreements focused on three main areas of cooperation: drug and human trafficking, information sharing between intelligence agencies, and training for members of the defense force. Both Colombia and Trinidad and Tobago are negatively affected by drug and human trafficking. It is believed that these same individuals and vessels are involved in these illegal activities. To this end, both nations have pledged to eliminate the problem by working together.
It is that we can utilize the joint intelligence and collaboration between the Republic of Colombia and our intelligence agencies to find an avenue to cut that and to block this illegal entry on for human trafficking. It would go a long way towards us in reducing the illegal entry of drugs and weapons.
The police cooperation agreement was viewed by Colombia as a practical way of bolstering the informal bilateral relationship that existed in the area of security and thus a potential area of cooperation with Trinidad and Tobago. It focused mainly on terrorism, illicit trafficking in narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances and related crimes, transnational organized crime, citizen security and related subjects, education and training activities, and other complementary activities.
What was discussed here is that in order to define what kind of training can Colombia provide to Trinidad, we'll have to do an assessment, an analysis. So both the Deputy Director of National Police, General Bustos, and the Commander of Trinidad Police, the Commissioner of the Police, will gather and will discuss the way to make this analysis and in consequence establish a program to support the police of Trinidad.
Stay tuned for part 2 of this national security feature in our next newscast. Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News for Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.